Good morning, everybody. I think we're live. I'm not sure. I'm seeing kind of a spinny wheel of death. I hope you're with me this morning, friends. It's good to be with you today. Um, my name is Will Ed Green, and I am so glad, after it's been a minute, to be with you as we start this midday Tuesday with a little wandering toward wonder. Um, this is a time that we get together every week on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. To think about how we can cultivate wonder and joy and awe in our lives. As I already said, my name is Will Ed Green, and I serve as the Associate Pastor and Director of Discipleship at Foundry United Methodist Church in Washington, D.C. I am tuning in this morning from a cold and dreary Washington, D.C., right here in the Brightwood Park neighborhood. And I would love to know where it is you're coming in from today. So if you'll take a minute now as you're comfortable and just share in the chat where it is you're joining in as we wander together, that would be a real gift to me. And as we kind of create some space this morning, as we kind of welcome folks in, I have a question for you. I know it's a hot button issue this time of year. There may be some real feely feels about New Year's resolutions, but I want to know what your thoughts are about New Year's resolutions. Do you make them? Do you mock them? Um, do you ignore them or postpone them once made? What do you think about New Year's resolutions? And I see we've got some folks coming in from all over the place. Hey, Michael, it's good to see you from Florida. We've got folks from Pentagon City and College Park and Woodbridge. So we're thinking about New Year's resolutions. What do you think about them? Are they good? Are they bad? Because the reality is, like it or not, resolutions made at the beginning of the year shape a lot of the way we think about our January, right? Um, the practice of making New Year's resolutions, I don't know much about the history. I didn't have the chance to do that research today. But it is socially endemic, right? It seems like everybody's doing it. And whether it was our family of origin that taught us the practice, or we've simply seen it between all the news cycle and the endless Weight Watcher and Planet Fitness and other retail ads. I'm going to guess most of us are familiar with them, right? Resolutions, New Year's resolutions, have been on my mind a lot lately because we are in the midst of a year, and I don't have to tell you this, in which so much feels like it is straight up on fire, right? Um, and it seems strange to begin a new year, um, maybe uncomfortable, maybe even dangerous, to start the year off focusing on what's wrong with ourselves, right? At least that's what I've kind of been sitting with today. And as I've sought wonder in my own life in these first now 5 days of 2021, something in me is troubled with the idea that we have this practice that has us ground the beginning of each new calendar year focused on the bad, right? So we start on the first day of the year and we decide that we're fat, as if that's bad. It's not. And that we need to lose weight in 2021, so we're going to do it. Or we wake up and we decide that we're miserable in singleness. And so we decide this is going to be the year we put ourselves out there, as if being single is a bad thing. As a single person, I can say it's not. Even the things we resolve to do or to pick up or to put down are really, in some ways, rooted in this sense of lack. We're keenly aware in the rat race of constant comparison that we live in this world when we've fallen behind, aren't we? And so this year, because we've fallen behind in the last, we're going to pray more, we're going to read more, we're going to play more, swear less, post less on social media, we're going to work less. Whatever it might be, we create these laundry lists so focused on fixing ourselves that it's really easy to enter the new year as sleepwalkers, blindly pursuing the purpose that we set for ourselves on New Year's Eve. Of course, the problem is that we know New Year's resolutions may last for the night, but come morning time they fail, right? And so I've been thinking about what it would mean if this year, instead of resolving to change ourselves, to fix ourselves, we chose first to remember. And I've been sitting with that question a lot. It's gnawed away at that familiar principle of starting the new year with a sense of lack, right? This idea that you need to Change what you don't like, abandon the old, embrace the new. Because there's an element of that, that is so easily infected with self-loathing and self-doubt and anxiety and fear that I wonder whether or not in the pursuing of change, we don't inadvertently forget. This is why I said remember earlier. If we don't inadvertently forget the beautiful, wonderful, grace-filled moments of the year gone by. Truth is, in the resolution process, it is easy to forget. We forget the lessons we've learned in the previous year, both painful and profound, and sometimes both, that helped us realize in that moment what really mattered the most, what we cared for the most, what brought us the most joy or hope. We forget the things we learned to love about ourselves in the year gone by. We're so focused on the negative that we forget the things that we realized we were good at, the strength that we had, the capability we didn't know we had before that we found out we did. We forget those lessons which undergird New Year's resolutions are not simply about the bad or the missing, right? It's not just about fixing yourself. It's about finding things that bring you life and hope and joy and pursuing them. You know, we wonder why, and US News and Forbes and other agencies report this, 80% of New Year's resolutions that are made at the start of the year will never be seen through. And I wonder if it's because the foundation of any resolution in which we're going to succeed is not a keen awareness of our failure, right? It's not starting off the new year thinking about what we need to fix or change, but it's rooted in our past experience, which helps us pursue growth and joy. At least that's what I want to believe here on this Tuesday before Epiphany, that sacred day when we remember and celebrate the gift of God who comes in human form, the Christ child, not as a condemnation of our faults or human brokenness, not as a laundry list of things we need to fix about who we are or fix about our world, but as a living love which spills out into the darkness of Bethlehem's night and the darkness of all of our nights, with the hope that we are, as we are, where we are, enough, right? That's what the incarnation is all about, remembering who we are, that God chooses to enter into our daily lives, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, and says to us, no matter where we are, when that incarnational moment happens, you are beloved, you are claimed as God's own, you are absolutely worthy, absolutely enough. God comes in the form of Jesus at Christmas every year, reminding us again and again that we don't need a New Year's resolution to make us better. So what if, before we started chasing that resolution you made on December 31st, bleed together, you may be a few days behind, you paused and put it in the context of that remembering, that you're enough. What if we chose, before you began to correct the thing that you think in your life is broken or failing or faltering, to remember that you don't come from a place of lack. You come from a place of love. You've already been claimed and named beloved. It's only up from here. It's only up from here. What if we remembered that the resolutions we make are not so much a statement about how messed up our life is, but an opportunity, a gift of grace to take a look at the year ahead of us and say, this is what I want to cultivate. This is what I want to spend my time doing in the new year so that I can live more fully into this belovedness that God has proclaimed over my life. And look, I'm not saying that we don't all have things in us that need a little attention, or that God's love is an excuse to ignore the work that gift of grace calls us to do. But I am saying that 9 times out of 10, leaping into that work with a sense of lack, with a sense of I'm too broken, with a sense of I'm not enough, will only fail because it reinforces that negativity. I'm convinced that's why resolutions don't work. But when we leap from a place of love, loving ourselves, loving others, desiring to make that love alive in the world, we have not something we're trying to fix. We've got a gift that we're trying to give. We're able to succeed and fail and falter in all those resolutions and question and doubt and do it all over again. Because we know that no matter the outcome, no matter what happens, whether we succeed or we fail, that success or failure doesn't define us, only God's love does. And that's not going to go anywhere. COVID-19 has revealed, at least for me, I don't know about for you, so many of the broken places in our personal lives and in our world, right? It's revealed so much pain that was always there that we just kind of brushed over and ignored. But despite our deep desire to forget it, to move on, to look at 2021 as the year that's going to be everything that 2020 wasn't, to be tempted to focus all that brokenness and pain and fear on what we must change, I wonder if the gift that we're being given is to remember that God comes to us as one of us to show us that we are, in fact, enough. And that as painful as 2020 was, there were moments of joy, and there were moments of beauty, and there were moments of wonder. And when we remember those, when we remember what it felt like to experience those, and we begin to cultivate that knowledge, to reclaim those things that we were tempted to forget, we're able to carry those lessons into the new year and grow more fully into who it is that God's created us to be. And that, my friends, I suppose is really what wonder is all about, right? Not just rapturous experiences of the world around us, but moments of troubling the waters, troubling our expectations, troubling our practices, to help us see ourselves, our world, and the way we show up in it just a little more clearly, right? And so what might happen for you? I'm curious. These are the questions I've been asking myself. If our resolution to lose weight didn't begin with guilt and shame and socially enforced body dysmorphia, but thinking back to the times in the last year when we felt most comfortable, happy, or alive inside our own skin, what if we chose not to pursue that particular resolution from a place of lack, or even make that resolution from a sense of lack, but rather chose to resolve to pursue a relationship with our body that cultivated joy and happiness, whatever that might mean for you? What if our resolution to build more friendships or find more romantic partnerships wasn't rooted in that sense of lack or longing or fear, but in looking and remembering moments in which we felt the most secure, the most confident, the most capable and worthy, and then cultivating that so that as we're entering into new relationships, as we're going into the world and offering that gift of our true self, our full self to others, we're able to be in relationships that really matter and make a difference. That is, after all, what relationships all about. So here's what I want to invite us to do. Here's what I'm going to be doing. If you've made a resolution this year, or maybe even if you're thinking about one and you haven't quite gotten around to it yet, before you do, stop and ask yourself what joy, peace, hope, love that you hope will come from that promise that you're making yourself. So look back on the last year and think back about the moments when you had already the thing that you're resolving to have in the new year. Remember when it was when the last time was that you felt that thing most fully, what it tasted like, what it felt like, what it smelled like, what rhythm your heart was beating as you found yourself in that moment. And then, rather than making these resolutions or promises to yourself out of a sense of trying to fix something that's broken, cultivate that memory, receive that as gift, and do so in a way that allows that to come alive again in your life in this new year. At least that's what I'm going to try to be doing. And I'm going to trust, and I hope you're able to as well, each step of the way that God's grace, all sufficient and never failing, is going to be big enough to hold my success and my failure and my moments of absolute dumpster fire realness, and still name me beloved and worthy and enough. So before we resolve, let's remember that's what I've got for you today, friends. That's where my mind and my heart have been these last couple of days. Thank you for taking a few moments to share in it with me. And I want to just offer just a few quick reminders before we go into the rest of our day. Here in the next few days, we'll be providing you more information about the point and time count here in DC. That is a process that ensures that all individuals experiencing homelessness here in the district are counted and creates kind of a snapshot of the scope and scale of homelessness in our city to make sure that our legislators and funders are able to have all the information they need to help address issues of chronic homelessness and homelessness in our city. We're going to drop an email address in the comments now. If you're interested in participating in that point in time count, you can email Kate and she'll provide you more information for that. We do hope that you'll join us tomorrow at noon for Ponderings from the Purple Parlor with Pastor Ginger. It's a mouthful, Ponderings from the Purple Parlor. That's going to be at noon, and that's always a great gift, so I hope you'll come back and join us on Facebook for that. And then finally, we want you to know that our bishop and leaders from the United Methodist Church in downtown DC have asked us not to be present downtown tomorrow during what we expect will be some protests and some demonstrations. There are opportunities to pray for those who are present and to pray for the congregations who have been and will be impacted. We're going to drop the bishop's statement from the Baltimore-Washington Conference. That's Bishop Latrell Miller Easterling into the comments as well so that you can receive that. And we do hope that you'll be praying for safety and for peace in our city. But for now, friends, remember, now and always, be gentle with yourselves, be gentle with one another. Remember that God loves you, that I love you, and keep on wandering toward wonder. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.